Hello Ron, I have another build for you for the Wizard, which is the only thing I have played this season. So this time around I have Tals for you. So, we had the season starter Dalsir, we had the Speed Farmer Typhon, and we had the Heavy Climber Legacy of Dreams, no set, right? So why do I have a build for, Tal Rasha? So there will be no build for Firebird. There will be no build for Veer because they don't really have anything special. Dalsir I did because we had to. That's what you start the season with, thanks to the journey. Typhon, as I said, is the speed farmer, and the absolute Great Rift Climber is the Legacy of Dreams. There are different variants. So why do I make a video for a Tal Rasha build? So guys, the Tal Rasha build is easily achievable, obviously relatively, and it can also relatively easily achieve pit 150. So if you are going for pit 150, this could be the path of least resistance. Why? Let me explain. So the strongest build in the game is Legacy of Dreams, Meteor Wizard, right? There are multiple variants, and so that is the strongest by far. However, Tal Rasha is also fully and perfectly capable of doing 150, and I'm not talking about ultimately being able to, right? It is just capable of doing so. Let me just a picture speaks better. Yep. And as you can see, comfortable durations here, right? And that is probably the only set that can achieve this. Let's take a look at this. Wow, actually they did 150, but as you can see, it drops off, right? These are people that went really hard at it. As you can see, Veer is laughable. So this is going to go up, by the way. I don't think anyone is really going into it very hard. Typhon already achieved it. So as you can see across the wizard sets, the best one is Tal. So that's why we have a Tal video. Why? Because guys, all of the builds that are really successful use Meteor, and Tal is the set that is based on Meteor. So what you can do is you start off with your Dalsir, right? You build up your gear to swap into Typhon for quicker Greater Rift farms and Paragon levels and Visions farm, and all the while you are hoarding your Legacy of Dream stuff, right? And the good thing with that is the Legacy of Dream stuff largely overlaps with the Tal build, right? I mean, there's the Convention of Elements, there's the Hollow of Karini, right? There is the Nilfur, the cubed stuff agrees, and also the weapon agrees, right? There are minute small differences, but generally the weapon agrees. So you want the Grand Vizier power on your weapon. So, and of course, these are much more easier to target, and you do not have the, responsibility and burden of getting ancient items. What am I talking about? If you are going to go with Legacy of Dreams, you kind of need to get ancient items. Take a look at this. 375% damage and 2% damage reduction, and the bonus is doubled for ancient items. So if you are wearing a non-ancient item, you are going to lose out on a decent damage and 2% damage reduction, which is, not small. And imagine getting all of that cacophony in ancient, right? The Swami, the Orb of Infinite Depth, the Stone Gauntlets, all of it in ancient. It's not very easy. The Fazula, that's the Archon form, the one I have a video on. So what Tal provides is, a very nice level of power with combined with some level of comfortability, right? Because you know what you are going for, right? Tal chest, Tal gloves, whatever it is. So there is of course still a bit of variance involved in here because Tal is one of the old sets. It doesn't really follow the regular 6-piece set. Tal actually has 7 pieces, and it has some really weird pieces in the form of an amulet and an offhand, right? So what you wanna do is equip 5 pieces of Tal, right? 2 pieces of Ogild and 2 pieces of Guardian. So Guardian is a 3-piece set, so you have to select 2 out of these 3. Ogild is a 4-piece set, you have to select 2 pieces out of this 4, right? And then, so some of these are invariable. For example, Yeah, even the belt is variable because Tal also has a belt, I recall, if I recall. Yeah. So the rings will be convention of elements and hollow of Karine, right? The amulet definitely has to be Tal Rasha. This offhand has to be Tal Rasha as well. The boots never varies. It's going to be Nilfurs. And let's also take a look at the cube. Yeah, we will have Mempo and Smoldering Core. These are, classics. We will have Ring of Royal Grandeur to trigger all of the set bonuses. That's why we are allowed to do 5-2-2, right? So as for the chest, you can either wear Augild or Tal Rasha, right? Tal Rasha has increased attack speed, which is normally not a thing that exists on chests, so there is that. However, the downside is that will force you to use Augild's helmet, and the problem with that is the resistance is sadly guaranteed roll, so you will have to be really lucky to get a good one. As you can see, mine is not good by any means. We go for a topaz in the helmet to reduce the arcane power cost of the meteor. We use, you know, with the Tal, we have to get all 4 elements to work. So we go for Spark Flint Familiar. That's going to give us fire. The magic weapon gives us arcane. Frost Nova we gives us. So we barely use this as cold damage, right? And that's the cold. And finally, the storm armor gives us the lightning, and finally we have the meteor that gives us the arcane. So we will have the 4 stacks continuously because the spark flint will be refreshing the duration. So normally when you have a 4-piece set bonus of Tal, you cannot really keep using the same element over and over to refresh duration. You would have to alternate the 2 elements, but spark flint family will save us in that. All right, because it's continuously doing fire damage and we are doing arcane damage in forms of meteor. We will not ever need to refresh anything. So the frost nova, you just have to cast it once at the beginning, and then you will go up to 4 stacks, and you will never have to do it again, right? Just spamming meteor will keep your stacks alive. So as for the legendary gems, we have the Bane of the Stricken, Zay, and Bane of the Trapped. These are quite the classics. So yeah, as I said, this can easily pull off. Well, easily is maybe taking it too far. You can do 150 with this, right? You would have to do some investment, Kaldezans and whatnot. Let me show you the build in action. I don't know what I did with this build, right? I did have, that's not Tal Rasha. Let me see. I have 125. Yeah, okay. I mean, let me try 130. I'm not very sure because I haven't been playing it for a while. At that point, I was considering Legacy of Dreams versus Tal to go and try for 150. And I was having a little bit of bad luck with Legacy of Dreams. So that's why I set this aside. But then I decided I would go for Legacy of Dreams. So let me try 130 here. So it goes. As you can see, already 4 stacks. I should actually not be doing this. As I said, I'm a little bit rusty with the build, so I don't need to do that Frost Nova actually. As you can see, it's not bad. Yeah. So my gems being higher level, me having a lot of Paragon makes a difference as well. Wasn't like that last time. Actually, the Elite did survive for a pretty long amount of time. But we are getting there. Long live the altar, rendering us C. Simeon. Okay, so that was not extremely good. So you need a lot of arcane power on critical to be able to maintain this. That's pretty important. Okay, so this was somewhat better. I think because I stood in the Oculus ring, You want to give your follower an Oculus ring, so he opens that nice zone for us that gives us like 85% damage up. I would really like to find a pylon somewhere over here. No? Okay. And let me tell you, this is much more comfortable. So there is also that. There is quality of life. This is much more comfortable than playing Legacy of Dreams. Legacy of Dreams builds are awful. They are extremely strong, but they are very hard to play, right? I have been playing Diablo 3 kind of the entire duration, right? On and off, obviously, as you can imagine. And this is really comfortable, right? I'm just spamming meteors. Nothing too complicated, nothing too close, right? It doesn't get too close. You have probably seen the Archon bazooka build that I have done, right? It's really annoying to play, right? Because most of the time you are just incapable of doing any damage. You have to time the Archon with your convention of elements, etc. This is really quite comfortable, right? I'm just standing in between the monsters. I'm raining meteors on them. Don't have to do anything. Okay, that's good. Keep in mind to kill the last minion if you can, right? If it's close, do it, because the last minion drops another progress orb, so 1 more percent. As I said, only if it's close though. Okay. Also keep in mind to drink your potion on cooldown if you if you won't need it. Why? Because thanks to the altar, it will give us a shrine buff, right? And also if you have the bounty glove and have given to your follower, that will increase, what's the name? Oh, that was awful. That will increase shrine durations to 10 minutes, so you will have a 10-minute nice buff. Yeah, going far away is actually good, considering I have Zay. Yeah. As you can see, right, increase movement speed, and okay. So this is kind of a pylon that does not much. I mean, it does remove. So as you can see, even though it removes the costs, I'm still spending all of my arcane power. Why? Because it's the rune that the rule that the rune applies, right? It says drains all your arcane power and deals additional damage based on the amount drained. And yeah, so that is not a cost, right? That is an additional thing. So even with the channeling pylon, you will be spending it all, but it still helps a little because it at least removes the base cost, so more gets it. And also, guys, if you are curious about this, so let's say you have 130 arcane power, the meteor costs 30, and you have cost reduction there. So how does it work? The thing is, the amount of cost reduction also gets applied to the amount of drained power. So, for example, you have 20% cost reduction, which means that 100 arcane power that gets drained is actually going to be treated as higher than that, like 125 or so. Okay. So shall I follow my advice? Yeah, I mean, they are kind of dead, right? We should follow our own advice and kill the last minion. As you can see, they are highlighted. Maybe unnecessary. So, the question now becomes, do I push it here and try to make the Guardian spawn in here? Oh, no question. Sorry, there is no question. Didn't see the pylon. Yeah, so this could have gone, a lot differently, right? If I just went to the next floor, I was going to miss all of it. Okay, let's go far. I mean, trying to get value out of Zay. Yeah, it was very lucky that we had the... Where'd you go? It was very lucky that we had the power pylon in here and 620, right? That is quite the climb, because as you know, 5 greater rift is nothing to frown upon, and the duration only went up by But as I said, I did this build much earlier. It's a little bit old, so we have gained a lot of Paragon levels. The gems have been leveled up by a lot. Zay or this one. That is for speed farming. Just go with this. It doesn't really matter. So what else is this build good for? Yeah, it is, as I said, a source of hitting 150 on a relative budget, because as I said, Legacy of Dreams builds are hard to pull off. So if you have some nice Tal pieces, you can go all the way up to 150. Obviously, you should be trying to get yourself an ethereal item that's upgraded into a primal with the right power. That's so I'm losing a lot of damage from this one. I'm losing like 40% or so damage from this one, because the unique power is a little bit off, the damage is a little bit off. It goes upwards of 3000, so that's like 20% that damage lost there. More than 10% damage is lost in the unique power there, and if you combine them, adds up to something in the neighborhood of like 35%. So that's pretty important. Also, all of the other stats will go perfect as well. So yeah, this is a nice build to climb to 150, and I will see you in another build, guys. Bye bye.